HB 846 on behalf of the Baltimore City Administration. This bill expands Baltimore City's ability to impound vehicles which have amassed over $1,000 in moving violations recorded by automated enforcement cameras. This legislation would be similar to Baltimore City's existing authority to impound vehicles with 3 or more active parking violations that have not been paid after 30 or more days. It is pertinent that we hold drivers accountable who consistently demonstrate a disregard for rules and the safety of our residents. We believe that impoundments authorized by House Bill 846 would act as a strong deterrent to unsafe driving in Baltimore City and will help keep all of those who use our roadways safe. The sponsor of this legislation, Delegate Smith, has also submitted, I believe, 2 amendments to the committee which would expand the ability to also add immobilization to this bill. So for those reasons, we respectfully request a favorable report on HB 846. I also have Liam Davis here from the city's Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Okay, Liam, you've got 2 minutes. Welcome back to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's great to be back. So when we're talking about these chronic offenders in terms of the vehicles that have accrued over $1,000 worth of unpaid automated citations, we're really talking about a small, very small fraction of the total amount of drivers in both Baltimore City and the state of Maryland. Our research has found that in total, we've identified over 4,354 vehicles that would meet the $1,000 threshold. Of that number, 61 are from vehicles registered outside of the state of Maryland. 4,293 are in-state. Now, 4,293 might sound like a big number, but there's over 200,000 vehicles registered in Baltimore City alone and over 2 million registered in Maryland. So again, it's a very small group of drivers that are skirting our laws and making our roads unsafe for all road users. We respectfully request a favorable report from the committee. Thank you.
Is James Turner with us?
I'm here, but
He doesn't need to testify.
You're just here to answer questions. Okay. First question goes to Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what is your process when someone doesn't pay their fines?
So this legislation looks to implement a similar process to how we treat unpaid parking tickets. And that process, which I can explain, is when a vehicle is issued a parking ticket, that vehicle can accrue up to 3 parking tickets. But once those tickets go unpaid for over 30 days collectively, so each ticket is over 30 days overdue, the city then has the authority to either immobilize the vehicle, which is commonly known as a boot, or impound. So that's how we treat the parking. With the automated citations, there isn't
Can
really
I stop
that.
you for a second?
Yep.
Is there nothing between the ticket and the boot? Do you reach out to the person and say, you need to pay? Do you send it to collections, or do you just go from ticket to boot?
So
that's what I'm trying to get at.
no, they get a letter in the mail. They get a letter in the mail.
Okay. Do you turn it over to collections?
So,
or no?
So we, City DOT issues the ticket, and then through that process, it then goes to Baltimore City Finance Department. Their revenue collections office is in charge of issuing the mail and then collecting the charge.
Got it. Thank you.
And sorry.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't intend to accrue $1,000, but I have to say that those cameras along 83 have been very effective. And my question to you is, would you only impound the car in Baltimore City, or would you be able to see me on Annapolis Street and get me, if that were the case, which it would never be?
That's a great question. I'm super glad you brought that up. We only intend to do the immobilization and impounding, if necessary, in Baltimore City.
And I believe the legislation is written that way, that it's for violations that are occurring in Baltimore City, and then the immobilization or impoundment would happen only within Baltimore City.
Okay, thank you.
The Vice Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does the $1,000 threshold include penalties for late fees?
So my understanding is for automated tickets, there are no late fees.
What about red light tickets?
No late fees for red light or speed or truck.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for coming. Do y'all offer payment plans for either these violations or for parking violations?
So to my knowledge, there isn't an active payment plan structure. However, occasionally the city will have an amnesty day. I think that happened as recently as several years ago, where there'll be a significant discount allowing residents the opportunity to come downtown to, you know, get in good standing with the city, paying these charges at a discounted rate.
Interesting, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What kind of guardrails are in place if a license plate or a vehicle is stolen? I've had a constituent whose tag was stolen who ended up getting quite a few moving citations that were not actually this person.
Yeah, I think the timing of that question is perfect because we did support Delegate Healy's legislation that would provide a person who's in receipt of a parking ticket the ability to check a box saying, that's not my car, or that's not my tag. And then that can be submitted back to the city, and we would have to verify, okay, what happened here in terms of the ticket being issued properly or improperly. And then we do have the ability, there are cases, we've even helped some legislators sometimes, where someone got a ticket or a fine in the mail, and it turns out, you know, there was a discrepancy in how the plate was entered in. We have the ability to abate that ticket if it's determined it was issued incorrectly.
Okay, so, but in this case, it was their tag. It just was a stolen tag. So you would still be able to deal with that?
I'm confident that if there was sufficient proof that the tag was stolen and it wasn't the fault of the person who the vehicle is registered to, I'm confident that we'd be able to sort that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that Ann Healy is a smart cookie, isn't she? Delegate Foley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is about the impoundment. On a parking violation, it's pretty easy to understand how you impound a vehicle. As you said, you boot the vehicle, so the vehicle has a parking violation. It's at a parking meter. The meter expires. They boot the car. But these are moving violations. How do you then impound the vehicle? Do you go to the person's home, or what do you do?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be like an aggressive, oh my God, let's send a task force out and go after these vehicles. It would literally be, you know, we have our traffic enforcement officers that are doing regular, you know, patrols of, you know, residential permit parking or metered parking throughout the city. They have license plate readers, and they would be able to, you know, through the license plate reader, it could say flag over $1,000 worth of citations accrued. And then with the amendments, we would go for immobilization first, and then after 4 days, impoundment.
Right, okay, so basically, they would go through and read the license plates of all the cars parked in Baltimore City? Is that what you're telling me?
It's not, it wouldn't be a concerted effort to scan every car. It would just be folded in to our regular parking enforcement.
Right, so they would have to be in violation of parking, they would have a parking violation, and that would trigger the scanning of the license plate, is that right?
In certain cases, yes, but in some cases, you know,
Let me follow up on Delegate Foley's question. So I know here in Annapolis, they run by and they take images of your car on the street, and then 2 hours later, if you're still there, you get a ticket. Okay, so would it be that in Baltimore, they do that same sort of thing, a scan of the car, and then before the 2 hours are up, it will be flagged as being somebody with $1,000 worth of tickets?
that could happen, yes.
Okay, go ahead, Delegate Foley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that answers my question, although I do have some concerns about that whole process, but thank you.
Okay, Delegate Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have questions about additional fees. Now, once you've moved to the impoundment phase, are there impoundment fees?
So there are the standard towing and kind of the storage of the vehicle rates that would go into effect. So at our yards, the maximum tow fee is $140. And then I believe the maximum tow fee is $40. Might be where James, this might be where I need James. He's our secretary for the city's tow board. Can you just break down for the committee the towing rates?
Hi, so it'll be 140 for the tow. It would be $50 for the storage after the first 48 hours, $15 a day following that, and then it would be $40 for an admin fee.
And I do just want to emphasize that the $1,000 threshold would require a vehicle to have somewhere between 13 and 25 of these violations at minimum in order to trigger this, this legislation.
Okay, I want to be clear. Towing fee of 140, storage per day, $50 after the first
So, yeah,
48 hours, and then after that?
so it'll be, if they pick up their car within 48 hours, they won't be charged the $50. After that, that automatically, after the 48 hours hit, it automatically hits the $50, and then every other day is 15. Yes. Yes,
And-
15.
And then one-time administration fee?
Yes, that's gonna cover mailing and MVA searches.
Okay, and that person would have to show up with way over $1,000 at one time, because there's no payment arrangements. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Let me follow up on Delegate Davis. So if a person is unable to pay the tickets and pay those charges, what becomes of their automobile?
Eventually, the vehicles are auctioned off.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Tough.
Delegate Davis, could you, there, thank you. Delegate Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I believe it in, throughout the state, if you have violations that are unpaid, they can not renew your tags at the state level. Is that correct?
So my understanding is the MVA does have that authority to exercise the ability not to renew the registration.
So you're not using that application in what you're doing?
So that, I think that, you know, in our conversations where we've discussed this, I don't think the MVA has put that into practice to address the number of violators that we're witnessing, the over 4,000.
So I mean, what happens in the rest of the state is different than what happens in Baltimore with how you want to apply this practice. So you're not using, or you're not, I guess, giving them information to MVA to flag it, you know, to hold a tag from being renewed.
We can follow up with you to give you a concrete answer to your question, Delegate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may have missed it, but did you talk about the expense related to the boot?
So the boot, there is a removal fee. Let me see this. We will follow up with you, with the committee with these questions that I don't have ready right now.
Okay, and this is, when you say $1,000 cumulative, that is current unpaid, is that correct? So they may
Yes.
have had $1,000 before, but it's paid off. This is a current,
Right,
This
it's-
is current.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you for a second try at this, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that over a period of time, you would have the ability to sell the vehicle. Now, let's say this was my vehicle. Once you get your costs back, do I get my car back? Or do I get the money back from it?
So I'm working on a constituent issue right now related to this, and the discussion is reimbursement for an impounded vehicle. But I would like to get more details for you on that process before I speak, you know,
So it doesn't exist now?
excuse me?
It's not part of this bill?
We don't intend to change the process for how the impoundment process. It's essentially, that process is in place for the parking violations. We're merely just trying to get similar authority for how we deal with unpaid parking violations. We're trying to get that authority for unpaid, a significant amount of unpaid automated citations.
And lastly, are you in objection to a payment plan of some sort?
No.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've heard you correctly that you'll impound vehicles. So what is the process to notifying an individual? Of course, you'll say that, of course, they're aware they've had violations, they should have been paying them, but will there be some notification that you will distribute saying, this is now the action that we're going to take? We have now reached this particular threshold. Is that process of protocol?
If we get a certified letter. So we send us.
Delegate, are you asking if we would send certified mail prior?
Correct.
Telling people that they have $1,000 of fines or more?
No, I'm talking about,
Impound, so yeah. Before we, so,
I think what he was asking, and correct me, Delegate, if I got this wrong, I think he was asking if you will tell them that our next step is to impound your vehicle. Was that what you'd meant to say?
yes, sir.
Okay.
With the amendments that are included as a part of this bill, immobilization would happen 4 days before impoundment. So there would be some level of communication with the vehicle owner as far as that impoundment would go.
And generally, when a vehicle is immobilized, that information is actually presented on the vehicle. It kind of lays out the options. So
Got it.
does that answer your question?
It does, thank
Okay.
you.
Sorry. Wait, I canceled my first bite. I'm just curious, how long does a car need to be impounded before you can sell it off? Auction it off?
Do you know that offhand?
I believe it's 2 weeks without any notification from the owner. But
Okay.
we send a letter out letting them know that it's in the city lot.
And I want to be clear too, part of that is there is a limited amount of space and the rate of abandoned vehicles, like we're talking about like
Okay.
cars that have, just been left on the road that residents are complaining about, like the rate of vehicles we're bringing in every day. I mean, we're happy to give the committee as much information as you'd like
Okay.
to see how we have to manage that inventory.
Thank you, that was the last bite.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I'm trying to look at the timeline for this. If somebody gets their car impounded, and there's a weekend, is the impoundment lot open 24/7 for people to be able to go pick up their cars and pay their fines and do all of that? Or are they gonna lose a few days if there's a holiday weekend, or it's Thanksgiving, or that kind of thing?
So my understanding is it's a business day timeline. It's not open 24/7, but it is open, I believe, 8 to 4.
8 to 4 by appointment.
8 to 4, 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, plus by appointment, or only by appointment within those hours? I didn't understand what you said.
To pick up their vehicle, they make an appointment on our website, or they call in and they have a slot where they come and pick up their vehicle.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Before I recognize Delegate Long, give me an idea of what violations are occurring. Is it just people parking in the wrong spot? Is it people parking longer than 2 or 3 hours? Is it people blocking? What is it typically?
It's a little bit of everything. So a lot of it is abandoned vehicles. So that was a huge issue during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have peak hour restrictions. So certain corridors during rush hour, the road will go from 1 travel lane in each direction to 4 to allow for more capacity on the road. There's stadium event parking restrictions. There's residential.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that last thing?
Stadium event parking
stadium,
restrictions. So there's a number of neighborhoods that are like right up against, Oriole Park. And to prevent people from parking in the neighborhoods during a baseball game or a football game, there's stadium event restrictions. There's residential permit parking restrictions. There's metered parking pretty much in every business district across the city. It really runs the gamut. It could be, parking in a bike lane or bus lane. it goes on.
Okay, let me recognize Delegate Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the second and last bite of the apple. So here's a scenario I just want to present. So in this instance, would the individuals that are facilitating the picking up of the cars or that particular transaction, with you saying the 8 to 4 appointment time frame in the windows, would that be subcontracted or contracted out to a private company to handle that on the behalf of the jurisdiction, or would the jurisdiction be doing that itself with their own particular employees?
We do this in-house
Okay,
with our city employees, towing division.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, that ends the public hearing on House Bill 846. And we have announcements, I presume. Delegate Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Housing and Real Property Subcommittee will meet at 1:45. I know that. Housing Subcommittee will meet as soon as I can get upstairs and log on, and I'm hopeful that all of you can log on as fast as possible as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And prior to my previous text message, we'll do one bill because other subcommittees have to meet.
Okay. Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, assuming they do 15 minutes? Okay, they'll do 15 minutes. We'll do 20 minutes right after, so 2:20?
220. Okay. Delegate Love. Delegate Boyce.
And that leaves us leaves natural ag with whatever is left, which is not much. So we will meet immediately after motor vehicle.
So, no, I'll take 20 minutes, so you'll have 20 minutes.
What?
She'll start at 2:20, so she'll be done at 2:40.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Environment Subcommittee will meet after the end of second session. So,
Okay. Stuart.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, land use and ethics is not meeting today, but we will meet tomorrow.
Okay. What, no historical? No, we don't have time for it. Okay, we are adjourned.